Hello my friends, I thought I'd come over here and have a visit with my over 20 subscribers. Now I have over 20 subscribers to my channel, and I want to personally thank each and every one of you for hanging around, letting me tell you stories and bullshit, listening to play guitar and stuff. Today I got a real interesting story for you. It's one that if you are one of those actual over 20 people who listen frequently, you probably will have wondered about this. And so what I'm going to talk about today is pop, 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 pop. It's all over every video I ever make if I make it at home. And it only happens at home. It's magic. It's caused by magic. You might think that it was like, for instance, in the house wiring here, but 3 out of my 5 amplifiers will run on batteries. And on all 3 of those amplifiers, this noise is here when they're not plugged into the house wire, when they're just running on batteries. So it's not the house wire. There's another reason it's not the house wire, which is that when I'm down in my south building, my workshop, which is about 200 yards away, it's there. And when I'm in the other big house, it's there. And when I'm in the dog kennel, it's there. And whatever, it's everywhere on this property. I used to say that it was the electric fence. And it's the rhythm of an electric fence. And those of you who have lived in the country and around an electric fence, you recognize that rhythm. That's just the pop, pop, pop of an electric fence. And matter of fact, you go out in a pasture, and if you can't hear your fence doing that, someplace it's grounded down and the animals are not behind an electric fence, and one of these days one of them's going to figure it out, and they're going to be all over the county. So you kind of, you get used to that sound, and it's a nice sound. And yes, we have an electric fence here. We have a Gallagher electric fence from Australia. It's one of those that like, if the aliens ever land on my property and they walk over and they touch the fence, to see what it was, they will be instantly vaporized and no one will know they were ever here. It's a pretty powerful fence. So, besides being on the guitars, by the way, you notice when I turn this volume pedal down, that noise goes away. See, I run my guitar through a volume pedal. You can't see it on the screen because I don't have a wide enough angle lens. But right down there, my foot's on a volume pedal, and I just rock my foot. The noise comes and goes. The volume of the guitar gets louder and louder, and if it's timely, and that other thing, that kapow kapow, that has to do with the fact that I have my digital signal processor effects turned on this amplifier, which, if things weren't weird enough, that makes it weirder, but we'll ignore that part for the time being, if you don't mind. Anyway, one day Gloria and I were sitting out the back of the house, and it was May, and it was a pretty day, and it had been raining and misting. It was one of those days when the mist falls, and you don't care, because the mist is just really nice, and it's pleasant, and it's not cold, and it's not hot. Gloria says, come over here. And I go over there, and she's standing near the back corner of the house, and you hear this noise like this. And you go, what's that noise? And she goes, it's the downspout. And she points at the downspout on the corner of the house, and I go over and I stand close to it, and it's an aluminum downspout. And you can hear it, it goes ping, 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 like this. Except it's a more pingier sound, it's less click. It's not the same amplifier. But it's the downspout on the back of the house. And so I said, man, that's weird. So I went out here in the pasture and unplugged the electric fence, and the downspout went. So I said, well, I don't know for sure if that's my electric fence or if it's somebody else's electric fence or if it's Martians flying over. I don't know what the heck this noise is, but I don't like it. So I went out and bought a 10-foot ground rod and some heavy gauge, I don't know, 2 gauge or odd gauge, I can't remember right now, copper wire, and I drove that 2-foot ground rod into the ground by the house foundation, just immediately outside where the breaker panel and power entry is, and I ran that new ground and I grounded everything with that. Now the house over there is not the grounding in it's not ideal. The house was owned or built by somebody who'd never seen one before, and they had some odd ideas about how to do things, so we slowly over the years tried to improve some of those things, and so grounding, it was one of those attempts. And so that didn't make any difference. I finished at the downspout when I go pop, pop, pop. And so I went back and plugged in an electric fence and kind of quit worrying about it. And this has been some years ago. I took a hiatus in my music for a while. And so I didn't have any musical instruments around. All we had playing for us was the downspout. And then I got back into these guitars and I started making them. And I've got an amplifier that I had in my other house. It's nothing old, dirty, wet attic. Took it down to my shop and I cleaned it up and I dried it up. And I plugged it into the wall there down in the shop, and it didn't sound too good. It kind of went, but not real loud, more like this, you know. And I said, shit, man, being in that attic has ruined this perfectly good amplifier, and it's a good amp. And I just went around and did something else. And over the years, we finished this house that I live in now, and I moved out of the other one over here, and I brought all my musical instruments, and by this time I'd acquired several musical instruments and a pretty serious habit of playing them all the time, which is part of the reason I moved, because it was kind of bugging Gloria. And I brought my stuff over here and I plugged it in, and at that time all I had was 3-string electric guitar, or 3-string cigar box guitars. I'd been a long time away from music. And little old amplifier, now one that I thought I'd ruined in the attic. And so I come up here and I played, and every time, you know, whenever I played, it went. And I said, man, I'm getting tired of that noise. And it didn't care, it went right on popping, so I just went on playing, because when we refinished this house so it could be lived in, one of the things we did was get a 10-foot ground stake, you know, and drive it into the ground right behind the house, get a bunch of this big old heavy wire, and put the breaker box out of model tumble-down house up by Rayville in it, and ground the living shit out of everything and wired it up and got it ready to work. So of course the noise is still here. He didn't care. The noise has no respect whatsoever for my efforts. In case anyone wonders, this is tuned in C6 and I've been playing in F. And I'm mostly so far just playing the big 3, you know, 1, 4, and 5. I started, you know, recording these things and putting them on YouTube and putting them up and letting people hear it. And it bugs me. I can't make it go away. We go into town, we play in this couple little bars in town. We being the Shade Tree Jam Band of Richmond, Missouri, and we'd love to have you come see us someday. But anyway, one of the places we play, the electricity is a disaster. I take my amplifier in there, I plug it into one of these, what you call it, thingies. It's, 10-foot wire with 6 outlets on the end of it, and it used to be a 3-prong, but they've had to cut the extra one off. Because they're plugging it into an ungrounded outlet on the wall. I don't get this noise there. My guitar sounds perfectly sensible. So that's the story of the noise. If anybody has any ideas, I can tell you a little more about it. It's coming out of the guitar part. If I turn that thing there, that's my volume knob. When I turn the volume completely off so that there's no signal coming out of these pickups, you don't hear that noise. But the weird thing is that I can unplug the cord out of the guitar, turn the volume back up, and you still get it. Okay? So, well, you say, shit, man, it's a volume pedal. That's easy. Well, of course, I haven't owned a volume pedal as long as I've owned this stuff, and I don't know right now where everything's plugged into. This one goes over there. Yeah, so if we unplug that from there, we unplug that from there, plug that in. Okay, now the volume pedal's out of the transaction. So whatever's doing it, the volume pedal isn't. Now right now, because of being all busted up and having screwed up my guitar, I can't turn my volume up and down. I got that messed up the last time I had this guitar open. And so I can't make that part go away right now for you on this guitar. But what we can do, let me do something sensible so that you don't hear that horrendous clunk. We can go over here and we can put this regular cigar box guitar in here. What I haven't tuned up lately, I have no idea what it's tuned like, if anything. There's a D. And there's an A. And there's a D. And I wonder where I hid my other sled. Here, I can't slide this thing very easily with a slide guitar slide. There it is. Alright. So, let's turn the amplifier back into the picture. Okay, now see, it's not too loud here, but it's still here. And the louder I turn the volume, the more it does it. Only on this guitar, well, it's not going to do it today. This stuff is really weird. Yesterday, Spud and Sandy and Sean were over here, so the rest of Shade Tree's Jam Band. Spud plays an acoustic bass, and he had it plugged into my little amp over there. And he said, well, this ain't doing it. Or he doesn't say ain't, I say ain't. He said, well, this isn't doing it. And I said, well, you're right, Spud, it's not. I wonder how come. Real trebly, and that's the bass. That's a real trebly noise. So Spud's a curious guy, and he's good with electronics. And he says, "Yep, there it is." I said, "What'd you do?" He said, "I turned my treble all the way up, my bass down." Doesn't sound like this though. The pickups and stuff in a bass and the big fat strings on a bass and the various characteristics, differences between the bass and the regular guitar. only just barely audible off that bass. See if you play loud enough, you can kind of cover it up. But it's always down there, waiting for you to hit one of those places where the song's really supposed to be. Meaningful and intense and pop, pop, pop. It just makes me crazy.